Welcome to this show called Leaders Are Readers. This is your host, Doc Ant, and with me today, the one and only Stephen van Basten. Stephen, how are you doing?
Always good, always good. Thank you. Yourself.
Fantastic to see you. It's going very well, thank you. You know that you and I have been busy with AI as an artificial intelligence. We've been busy with prompting and helping people how to prompt. But today, you and I want to talk about the psychological impulse of prompting properly throughout your entire life. And the one thing we have to be aware of is that leaders are readers. Now, how
Yes,
has reading helped you in your life to get ahead?
I have been reading my whole life. I found solitude in being able to solitude and actually escapism. I had a strange upbringing, a strange youth, and so I found books, and I was able to escape into a different world that way. And I really believe that all of the books I've read, over 1,000 books for sure, and I have no doubt that that's created who I am today because I was exposed to concepts, I was exposed to human experiences, human behavior, history, all in woven into the books I read. And I was like, it makes me laugh because in matric I think I read 25 half books because I
Okay.
was always bored at school. The teachers bored me, and allegedly I've got a high IQ and stuff like that. And so I just passed. I didn't have to study and stuff. So I was bored. So I was reading books underneath that table, and then I must bring the book. So I read so many half books throughout my school career because they always got
But
confiscated.
it was you because there's something in it that actually must have been pleasing to you. Of course,
100%.
I can't see you doing that and not enjoying it. You must be enjoying it. Come on. Okay,
Yes,
so
of
obviously
course.
those books shape our destiny, shape who we are today and who we have become today. Certainly. So all of us have, not all of us, leaders, I believe, who are serious about leadership are readers, and they have read several books. I think most leaders
Yes.
try to read at least one book a quarter. So that's 4 books a year. For the normal leadership guys, okay, the guys like you who are bored. I mean, you had 25 unfinished books. I mean, it's incredible, but you
Yeah.
learned out of that. You learned out of that. So okay,
Yes.
let's
Well,
yeah.
I got the books back at the end of this term, and then so I could finish them. So I read the other half the next term before it got confiscated.
Perfect. Okay, but those books shape us. So let's talk about one or two or three titles that really shaped who we've become. I'll start off.
Mhm.
I'll roll with you, and that is that the book by Bob Buford called Half Time. Now, Half Time is made for people between the ages of 35 to 45 to say you're half time in your life. How serious are you about changing from living a great life to living a life to become significant? Now, you and I immediately start listening when we go from good to great, Jim Collins, but then from great to significant. That's what Bob Buford is working at. And I love the way that he had 22 chapters, and after each chapter, he'll ask questions, and we had to answer them. But we were prompted to write them by freehand. Because if you use your own handwriting, your commitment, your connection, it's so much more personal. And I'll just
Yes.
relate to the one example. It says, if how do you see the one line on your tombstone one day? Here lies Anthony van Tonder, born dash, and he died. What does that dash say? What is your dash about?
Mm.
And that
Mm.
really had me think in terms of what is my life purpose? Am I really going to leave a legacy that's going to be someone to be remembered? Or am I just fooling around with life? And it got me into life purpose in a big way. So that's what Bob Buford got right with me. I committed to writing, I put it in writing, and even today, just to go back to those principles of how it governs our life. That's what I learned. Any prompting from you that you picked up something that you like to ask?
Well, there's at funerals they actually very often recite a poem that's called the dash poem,
Yeah.
and it's the dash between the birth date and the death date. That life, that dash represents a person's whole life. So it's actually quite cool. You may want to look that up and read it. It's a very pretty poem.
Excellent. So, what is your top book that you read? What did you get from it?
My top book ever was The Power of One by Bryce Courtney. And that was about a little guy who was sent to boarding school. And of course, I went to boarding school for 6 years, so I could relate to a lot of that. He turned out he was a boxer. I did karate, so I related to that as well. But it was also written, and it's interesting to read now. And I think all South Africans should read this book because it was set in South Africa, in Barberton, in fact. Okay. And because Wilbur Smith was South African, of course. And was it Wilbur Smith? No, I made a mistake there. Bryce Courtney, I think he was South African as well, to be honest, but doesn't matter. But the little guy had and he was a boxer, but he had an African coach, and this relationship between the two, and just highlighting in the apartheid era how the differences and how we were treated differently. It was a very poignant description of the realities of that from the African point of view as opposed to the white point of view. So very eye-opening, but also just a beautiful book about winning and training and the relationship between a boxer and his coach. Because I hold mentors in high regard. Mentors are important to me. And when I look back at all the mentors in my life, I realized that it was them that have helped to push me up. So beautiful book. But please, if you are watching this, don't watch the movie. The movie was a disaster. It just didn't capture the beauty of the book. The Power of One, Rice Courtney, #1 book ever.
Fantastic. But you see, you mentioned the word mentorship. Sometimes people actually don't get to read until they become accountable to a mentor and they become part of a program. Like currently you're running this simulation on AI prompting where you work with people on a weekly basis, and there are more than 70 prompts in your book. The book is called So You Run a Small Business, Now What? As authored by yourself and other authors. And I just find what the guys are saying is that it's so practical how you're teaching them how to prompt. Because it gets them to think at a different level. But now with them rocking up to your course on every Tuesday at 3:00, that's created a term of accountability to you, whether you wanted to be appointed their leader, but you are by default.
By default, yeah.
It is. 100%. But it plays a vital role, and that is that if we are willing to receive input, that means we have to become teachable. If we're teachable, we go next level. There's just no doubt about it. Well, you spoke about Bryce's book about that winning feeling. That's where movies also come into, and that's a different kind of prompt because it prompts your eye gate. Whereas you're reading, you have to bring the imagination to it. Movies make it a bit easier. We all know Rocky Balboa. I mean, he will just get up again and get up again and get up again, and until he can actually run those stairs and be on top of those stairs. But that is a different kind of prompting. That prompts people to say, number one, when you feel you are down and out, just get up one more time. Because it's not about how many times you've been hit on, it's about the ones that you get up after that. And he teaches us,
100%.
And he gives us hope. And that is really a genre of hope through the medium of sport. But he got it right through that, portraying it in a movie. So there's something about it in terms of looking at and saying, what do you take and how do you interpret it? Are you going to put it in your life? But I found the guys who actually discuss it with mentors are the people who are succeeding in taking that and making it practical steps into their own lives. So, I mean, you like mentors, I like mentors. It's the way we need to live our lives. If you're a leader.
Yeah. So the story of Rocky is, for me, is just simply when you make a decision and are fully committed to it. Like he just didn't take no for it. So he just kept going and going, pushed himself way beyond, running up those stairs. And then I loved it when he was in the butchery and he was the meat tenderizer, clapping those carcasses. Cows laying in up there. And it was he just like almost took training for something to the next level. Yeah. And for me, there's a correlation always between the mental game, making a commitment, then the physical game, doing what's necessary to bring out the wide outcomes. And, Doc, when I do marriage coaching, and just bringing this in quickly, is I believe the most important ingredient for a long-lasting marriage is commitment, because your commitment to the end goal, so that during your married time, there might come times when you want to leave, or you bow out or tap out, or you get some nice offers from someone who says, "Oh, why don't you try me for the weekend? It might be nicer than what you've got." And because you commit, you might go, "Oh," in your mind, you might go, "Let's not buy a lekker, yes, that will be very nice." But because you committed, you go, "No." And
Correct.
that to me is the biggest thing in a marriage, is commitment to that marriage over and above anything else that might tempt you along the way.
But that's what it's about, is that the same now with what we're doing is in terms of prompting. If you committed to actually run a better business, this is how the prompting can come into it. Of course, we now have the extra teacher that has now appeared called artificial intelligence. And has this teacher kicked our behinds like you cannot believe it, because of the brilliance of the reservoir of knowledge that it has. I mean, when you and I spoke earlier, we spoke about the Encyclopedia Britannica. Every home had them, especially the people who can afford them, because that was your Google. And we used to go and say, when you get sick, what do you do here? What medication? What do you do? But today, we just hit Google and nowadays ChatGPT to get the answers we're looking for. So the digital age has definitely made a massive difference in terms of how we learn and how we apply. So that's the kind of prompting we're talking about. Your course that you're running on a weekly basis is set out to prompt and teach people how to use the right prompts to guide them, so that artificial intelligence becomes their artificial coach. But in essence, a real coach, because it asks you questions that you have to answer, that forces your thinking. And you said engagement of left brain and the right brain, and that's why it's working. Now, how many prompts in that book again?
We're around 70 at the moment. And if you got through all of them, it would take you probably close to 70 hours, right? Or 50 hours. Because, if you do it properly and you work through them properly, it should take you half an hour to 45 minutes and an hour in some cases, because you're doing it properly.
And okay, obviously, and what are we talking about? We're talking about the book that Stephen has just authored called "So You Run a Small Business, Now What?" And he is helping people through AI to use AI prompting to reshape their business, relook at it, starting with the basics from vision to mission to objectives, and to take it the whole song. But it's a specific time that people are committed, and this is where we started. People that become committed to improving their business, and that's why they join you on a Tuesday to do that. Let me ask a practical question before we go to the others. What about the guys listening right here? He's a leader saying, I missed out. These dudes are really busy every Tuesday. What plan do you have for them in terms of a catch-up, and how can we make it part of what you're currently doing?
Yeah, 100%. So, we meet on Tuesdays at 3, but on a Tuesday at 2:30, I have a 25-minute session for any new people. And if there are no new people, then a Q&A session if anyone wants to join and ask questions. So also all of the sessions are recorded. So once you jump on board, you have access to all of the previous sessions as well. So you can just watch it again and do the prompts. But the recording's actually not really needed, because it's a working session. Every day, every Tuesday, we'll give you the next prompt. You've got it in the book anyway. You pop it in and you do the work. It's me just facilitating and forcing you to actually do the work.
But I want to just show you one thing to summarize this commitment. There's the other commitment. Is put it on your phone. Let the alarm go off to tell you, hey, your session is due. Because we get busy. Life gets busy and we miss the session. So I thought I'll just share that little practical note. If you missed it, make sure that you put it on your phone. It will remind you and you won't miss it again. Do you think that's a good tip there?
Yeah, 100%. No, you should get a reminder, because I'm sure I'll put you into the meeting request on email in calendar. So your calendar should also remind you.
It's okay. That's a good point. That's a good point, because I don't use calendar. That's why I didn't see it there. But it's prompting. How do we use prompting to get ahead? Now, I've spoken about, I'm the older school. I put it on my phone. It reminds me I get there. It's in my diary. So that's sort of, do you still write in a diary? Yes, I do. Other guys go like, no, man, just wait on the computer and put it into, but styles differ.
I love writing.
Yeah, styles differ.
And when I do, you spoke about writing earlier when I do marriage coaching, and also when Vinesh Maharaj and I used to do sales training,
Mm.
we had manuals and we encouraged people to write. And and part of our Rags to Riches program actually was every day you took an hour
Yeah.
and you actually wrote out your vision statement, you wrote out your mission statement.
Okay.
And because when you write it out, you're using more senses, using physical, as well as visual, etc., and you're feeling it. So there's a lot of power, because cutting and pasting it doesn't work, right? You cut and paste, you've learned nothing.
True.
But typing it out would be okay if you typed it out, but writing it out physically, much nicer.
Yeah. Well,
And
the great John
goes in
Maxwell
and stays in.
Yeah, the great John Maxwell. That's something that I learned from him, and that is, I asked him, John, you've written so many books. What is your discipline? And he says, I write 15 minutes a day, every day. So I said, John,
Wow.
what about Christmas? He says, did you not hear? I said, every day, because that's my discipline. And because I've been committed to 15 minutes a day, that's why I've actually written so many books. And that was before there was ChatGPT and other methodology to assist with writing. It actually makes a massive, massive difference. As we know in today's time, ChatGPT as artificial intelligence is fantastic, but it comes back to the quality of the prompting. Now, you and I spoke about that prompting, and I think the newest, most expensive job in the future is going to be a prompt engineer. The guy who knows how to prompt artificial intelligence in such a way that you don't have to ask 5 or 6 or 7 prompts, but to prompt it correctly so that you can deal with your sort of nearby finalized product off the cuff. But, garbage in, garbage out. So we need to take accountability of how we prompt. But our minds are being prompted today. Yeah, go for that one.
Let me give you a quick example. So I wrote the book, got it printed, sold a couple of copies, and also sent out the first version in PDF. Because if you've got the book, it's nice, but you need to cut and paste the prompt. So you need the PDF version as well. Now, in the second edition, version 3, I have gone back to every single original prompt and changed it, because that's in a 1 month. I learned more, and I made 2 small changes. One, on each prompt now says, please remember this conversation for future, and then at the end it says, based on everything we've discussed and what you know from me in our previous chats, please quickly create a social media post for me, so that every time you do a prompt, it gives you the work, whatever, vision statement or SWOT analysis, whatever, but then it gives you a meme, not a meme, a post to post onto Facebook and social media immediately.
So what you're saying is he's actually busy studying your character, and is helping you devise what you bring forth through who you are. Because you see, people are different. People listen differently, see differently. I mean, it's just not the same. I mean, you and I can be standing in the same spot, and we can be looking at somebody's golf shot, but we're going to see something different. You'll see it your way, I'll see it my way. But our experience will also come into it. So what I like in terms of what you're saying is the prompting is there to get them on the journey. But you mentioned commitment earlier. Without the commitment, it's not going to happen either. I found that the leaders who are embracing this right now are the leaders who are teachable, leaders who want to be progressive. We're all about reading books. Jim Collins, From Good to Great. If you're that kind of person, yeah, what you're doing is good, but you want to be known as that you were great, well, then you need to start doing it in a different way. And that is to become teachable. Make yourself teachable. Come onto this weekly workshop, because it's a live workshop, where it's more about you facilitating the process where people can write and start improving their businesses. And what is nice is that you didn't just selfishly keep that for yourself. You engage with people like Dr. John DeMartini, Vinesh Maharaj, people who have been part of your life that each bring a different dimension into the book, and therefore helping people to be prompted through their thinking as well, because it just brings a different level of engagement. So we spoke last time about having brought the other people across. But for me, the title for today is Prompting Outside of the Box. We're literally saying everything is a stimulus. Everything we do is a prompt. I mean, if you and I look at a vision of anything else, our stimuli will see something different. Now, the RAS, the
Yes.
reticular activation syndrome, the moment you spot the first red car today, every time we see a red car, your brain picks up. So we are teachable if we allow ourselves to be trainable. So with you, back to your reading of books. You said you read 25 books. You read 25 books in matric. My goodness.
No, I said I read 25 half books because
Half books.
they got confiscated, which means I probably read about 50.
But that just shows something different because I'm speaking to a unique person here that loves reading. I think
Yeah.
people have become too, there's this thing, scroll. People just scroll and scroll. And that's why, from an engineering point of view, it now becomes so important as to how we grab the attention immediately for something that is, so we into a new world, a new sphere of competition like we haven't had before.
Yep.
You and I look at karate, we look at boxing. You get it in the, and you fight. You know how to use your arms, you have to use your body, etc. But we keep on having an update of having to change our gameplay because things are changing. There's just no doubt
Yeah.
about it. Okay.
Yeah, and it's important to consider, in my opinion. Look, AI can do anything. I mean, when the internet came up, many years ago, people went, "Oh, this could be good and bad, or good or bad," and it has been good and bad. When the bad side of it has been cyberbullying and kidnappings and all sorts of strange things, but the good side's been really great. Now we're in a place now, and it's just come to me. I've just kind of started formulating this, Doc, and there's an analogy I want to bring that I hope isn't frustrating to anyone, and that is like, AI is a super brain. Okay, that's basically, it was told, go and study the whole internet, YouTube, everything out there, and store it, and then it was given massive capacity to compute quickly, and it's just fast. But some people go, if you met God, and I'm not saying AI is God, please don't get this from this. If you met God, what would you ask him? Now, let's go down 20 levels from there.
Okay.
If you go into JTP, you can ask just about anything.
True.
And it'll give you an answer. Now, I'm not saying it's God, it's not God, but then it is so clever. It has so much at its electronic fingerprints, right? That it can answer just about anything. And I've asked it spiritual questions, and it doesn't give you anything more than is out there. That's the thing with it. It can't give you a new thing. It can give you something new to you, but it can't give you anything new
But
that
Stephen,
someone hasn't already said.
It's so much easier to get information what we couldn't get before. I'll be honest with you.
100%.
I know when you talk about, if somebody wants to be exposed, for instance, to Christianity, there's a term called the Roman road. All I did was I typed in, "Can you please give me your version of the Roman road?" Boom. And I had the gospel in my hand in terms of this is how you see the gospel. But it shows you that this artificial intelligence is that the vastness of what's come around under this globe, but it's available to us in seconds. It's changing the game.
Yes.
It's just changing the way it is.
So I just wanted to clear something up. So in my prompts, when I say, please remember everything from this prompt and everything we've shared, it's not only remembering how and noticing you, it's also the output. So when it asks you about your business for a vision statement, then it remembers that for future social media posts. Then you get vision statement and unique selling proposition and target market. So you basically, each time you stay in the same prompt, and it's remembering everything about your business, not necessarily about you, about your business. So at any time you can go, please, can you give me a blog? Can you write me a 300 word blog on my business? It will do it because it's remembered. But you have to ask it to remember.
Correct. But
so all of my prompts have now been changed. Please remember this and all future stuff for future reference.
Well, I might as well then just let the cat out of the bag in terms of how do you get this information. We all work with ChatGPT, but Stephen actually showed us in the previous one that if you have ChatGPT one level up,
paid version,
paid version, that game changes. It's a different league because what you were able to do with your little free ChatGPT, but in terms of a tool that has been created. Well, it's like getting out of a little Golf, VW Golf, and getting into a Maserati, or getting into Ferrari. It's just a different ball game. So I'm not saying
Yes.
everybody must now rush out to go and get it. What I'm saying is they need to come and learn the basics with you on a Tuesday in terms of, and see how they practically get help in their businesses. Because the beauty is the ability that the AI has to ask very important questions. And it's not garbled, it's just boop, question, and you have to answer. It's still reliant on our input. So it can't think for you, but it can guide you with possible outlines. It can't think for you because what? It's garbage in, garbage out, or quality in, quality out. As easy as that.
100%.
And I can only applaud it. Yeah.
One of the very cool prompts later on is, there's this concept that, and I focused on small business owners purposefully. That's my target market. So, the biggest problem for small business owners is they don't have a board of directors and they don't have a management team. They're on their own. So, and they're working in their business all the time, not on it. So, there's no time for strategy and strategic thinking. So, one of my prompts basically says you're a seasoned board member, and please ask me questions about my business that a board member would ask me.
Wow.
And then give, and I actually say in it, please be very strict. Don't be nice. Be strict, like a strict, hardcore board member. Ask me the difficult questions about my business, and then give me inputs and outputs on what I should be doing differently. It's a mind job, bro. With that, it's like you have a board member asking you questions.
Well, just now that for me is prompting. As prompting,
Yes.
you said I would like AI to be the highest level of prompting that I can get, so I can get the best information out of it. So we've learned today that the prompts that you have engineered are specifically designed to truly clarify and bring focus to every area of small business that you're working with. Those entrepreneurs know what to do, what to expect, and ChatGPT now asking the right questions, and they have to come to the party. And when they do, I can be honest with you. When I went through our first exercise, Stephen, I was blown away. That it would say to me, here are 10 steps to consider to improve your current business. Of course, it already had gone and it analyzed my business and said to me, here's the 10 things you need to do, and this most probably would take you next level. The very next day, I went and I implemented one of those pointers. And I said to my wife, she says to me, oh, I see that's a new approach. I said, hey, I committed to this AI prompting program. I saw this be done. It gave me the result that says you need to do X to go forward in your business. And I did. And he said, that's the part. It's a process to follow. Yes, input and output plays a vital role, but you are still that pinnacle in terms of making it work, because
Correct.
it cannot think for you.
100%.
So
Couldn't
Stephen,
agree more.
this just happened to become a program today for people to think in terms of prompting in different ways, because we get prompted in ideas, we get prompted as we see through our eyes, we get prompted in different ways. You're using prompting through artificial intelligence, but even to solve problems at home and in marriage. I mean, that's what you say you do. And that's just what makes the difference. Okay.
Yes.
So it's time to run. Give me your last output. What do you think we achieved today before I sum up?
You always catch me with this question and I always answer it badly. So it's just been lekker spending time with you and just reminiscing about my past and going back to that good book. I think I'm just going to read it again, The Power of One. And also the book you mentioned, I think I'm halfway there or halfway or something like that. If you found it to be your number one book, geez, I better get out and read it.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And that's what we do. Leaders are readers. And as you can hear, there was Stephen relating to the book that has really changed his life. You heard the book that changed mine. That's only one of them. I mean, we can actually mention 10 books off the cuff of our hand like this. But the difference is we believe in education. We believe in educating ourselves. And we believe to become part of a team so that we can get input from other perspectives, because that is what pushes us to rise to the next level. So for everybody listening today, we thank you. We want your comments at the bottom. Please type in your comment, ask us questions. Steve and I are back on a weekly basis, and we will answer your questions, because it's about leaders who are readers. I thank you.